Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to SKR Season 5, Round 5. And tonight we're at Interlagos. Should I say, rather, this afternoon we're at Interlagos. See a Sunday with a slight difference, no qualifying session. We're getting straight into the sprint race. That grid order will be determined by a reverse grid order from our championship standings. Then obviously the sprint race will take its course, and at the end of that sprint race we will have an order for the starting grid for the feature race. Obviously, I believe it's a 3-minute gap, a 3-minute break rather, if I'm not mistaken. An enforced 3-minute break before the beginning of the race so that everybody gets an opportunity to make sure they have the right setup on the car. Otherwise it's going to be a pretty long session. Brazil, one of the more classic circuits on the calendar. It's been around for a long time. In fact, later on today it will host its 50th Grand Prix. We await the start of the sprint race. Obviously so much can happen here in a sprint race. Just a few laps. Guys aren't really managing their tyres at start to finish. Here we go. Here's the red lights. We wait for them to disappear and off we go. AlphaTauri versus Ferrari. That is your front row. And what is turn 1 going to look like? Well, importantly so, it looks like everybody got through turn 1 without too much drama. We have quite a few penalties coming up on the screen early on. I think those are all to do with severe collisions. I just want to clarify those penalties. There we go, all 5-second penalties. So as far as I know, that's for contact. We're under virtual safety car on lap 1. So before things can get underway, we've already been neutralized. But we're underway. Was a short virtual safety car. Shouldn't have impacted the order too much. Want to welcome everybody who is watching, everyone who's joining us this Sunday afternoon for the SKR Season 5 Round 5 Brazil sprint race. Obviously this will be followed by the feature race, but for the time being, Apmagozi takes the lead of the race. Nicely done. Didn't even need DRS for that one, but can't get it stopped in time. And look who it is. Thought he wasn't going to make it, but there he is. Alpine driver, P2, that's Shane. Van leads the way in the Ferrari. Apmagozi, P3. Briefly P4, now down to P4. Just getting swamped. So difficult. You get passed by one, you get passed by another, and the next thing you know, you're on a part of the racetrack where you don't want to be. You have no momentum, and you just get swamped. Van leads the way from Shane. Half a second is the gap in the early stages of the race. Louis P3, Top Gun P4. Then we have Dixie Killer making up your top 5. Apmagozi, he has slipped out of that top 5, got as high as the lead at a stage. He's now in P6. Mr. Rem P7, Fricky P8, Ulrich P9, and then Afro making up your top 10 positions. Back at the front, Shane leads the way for Alpine. Louis P2 And Van, we just saw Ferrari going straight on. I think he just didn't get that car stopped. So tempting to brake late into that corner, take as much as the corner as you can, but sometimes just leave it a little bit too late and it leaves you nowhere to turn, and all you can do is go straight. Van down from the lead into P5, rather from second into P5. Shane leads the way. That gap crucially not a second, so Louis still within DRS. Dixie Killer P3, holding on to that position for now. We have Top Gun in P4, but that car is ghosting. Should give Mr. Rem an opportunity to catch up and pass that car. Fricky in P6, in the first of the two Mercs. And then we have the only Red Bull on the track tonight, Afro in P7. Just the 16 of the 20 runners making it this afternoon. So with a few names no longer in contention, gives some other names an opportunity to get themselves up into the points. Looking at the positions gained, Shane has picked up 6 positions since the start of the race. Mr. Rem, I think Mr. Rem is the top winner. No, that goes to Afro. Afro has picked up 10 positions since the start of the race. And Van, not having things the way he'd like them to be, 12 positions down since the start of the race. Good afternoon to Death Queen in the comment section. Always a consistent supporter of the SKR channel. Shane leads the way and it's pretty comfortable at this point. 3 seconds is the gap. Louis now coming under pressure for that second place as a Williams begins to close down on him. That Williams is Dixie Killer in P3. 0.4 of a second is the gap, and with DRS in hand, there really should be no question. Don't know how much longer Louis will have battery life. Obviously he's going to defend for all he can. 2 long DRS zones on this circuit, so easy to drain that ERS in just a few corners, really trying to defend just a few straights. Important for the drivers to open up that that gap to the car behind to over a second, so that DRS doesn't come into play. But as I say that, I look up at the screen to see a safety car. So we are under safety car conditions on lap 5 of 12 of the sprint race. And I was talking about how important it is to get these gaps to over a second so that you have some hope of defending, especially along that long back straight, if you want to call it a back straight. It's full throttle, so let's call it a straight. Such a tricky circuit to get the setup right for. You need that speed in Sector 3 and Sector 1, but you really could do with all the downforce you could get in Sector 2. So you go high downforce, you're going to have superior traction in the trickiest bit of the circuit. Go low downforce, you can have superior speed down the straights. Each setup has its disadvantages. You need to pick the one with the disadvantages that you're willing to deal with. Stream getting a little busier now. Some viewers joining in. If you're not in a cockpit of a car, get the keyboard, leave a comment, let me know what are your predictions for the end of this sprint race. Remember, the sprint race will determine the grid for the feature race that is coming up after this. So the higher up the field you can get, the bigger the advantage for that feature race. Remember, everything is neutralized for now. We're on the safety car. Top 3, Shane, Louis, Dixie Killer. We have lost 2 of our 16 drivers that started the race. That is Apmagozi and Revolution. Not the best start to the evening for AlphaTauri, losing both their cars. From what once looked like a promising position. Remember, Apmagozi led this race. As brief as it may be, he'll remember that moment. Seems like the field is pretty packed together. Don't think the safety car will go on for much longer. We're just waiting for confirmation that the safety car will return to the pits this lap. Then we can get back underway. We can get it back under green flag and get this going. To all the drivers who were able to extend that gap to the driver behind them to over a second and break DRS. Well, now they may have to do it all over again. Safety car bringing everyone back together, compressing the field once more. Safety car will be in this lap, and we will have 4 laps of racing to the end. There we go, Shane leads the way, it's up to him. When does he go? Nobody's allowed to pass until that start-finish line, and there he goes. Hopefully no drama into turn 1. Let's go further down the field just to keep an eye on that turn 1. Seems like everybody's getting through there pretty nicely. Nice restart by everyone on track. Shane leads the way, 0.8 of a second. Dixie Killer P3. Then we have Fricky P4. Mr. Rem, he's in P5. Then Afro continues to gain momentum. He's now made up 10 positions since the start of the race. He's in P6. Ulrich P7. Ultra Gamer P8. Van in P9. Having a bit of a recovery drive himself. And then Top Gun making up the top 10. On lap 8 of 12, 4 laps to go. Shane leads, Louis P2. Now Fricky has taken that 3rd place away from Dixie Killer. Dixie Killer was fighting for P2 not so long ago, and now he's fighting to get back into his P3. That's what the safety car can do. You start building a little bit of momentum, start getting a good feeling. Safety car comes out, just breaks your concentration a little. Top 4 remain the same, top 5 in fact remain the same. Mr. M just outside that top 5, he's in P6. And he's in what should be called a DRS train, but we're not under DRS conditions because of the safety car in the middle of the race. Might get a few DRS laps towards the end though. Mr. M doing all he can to go around the outside of that Red Bull. Almost got it out of shape, but now surely he'll have the inside line. And there we go. But the Red Bull will come back at him. And I thought the Red Bull lost it for a second there. I think he did lose it. Good job not to run into his opponent. He lost it, but he was able to collect that once again. And even though they were side by side, there was no damage. We have a car that's stationary. That's Ulrich. He's back underway. No damage on that car, so it may have just been a simple off-track excursion, maybe a spin. Shane leads the way. Remember, the order of this race will determine your starting grid for the feature race. So if things were to end right now on the front row, Shane would lead the way from Louis. On your second row would be Fricky and Dixie Killer. As for the cars that retired in this race, if they decided to hang around, they will simply start from the back in the feature race. But you do get that second opportunity, getting something out of this Sunday afternoon. Further back, Afro still looking to get himself into that top 5. So close to Mr. M, but just can't make the move. Quite the historic racetrack here in Interlagos. Not the easiest place to pass. DRS makes it easy. Take DRS out of the equation and you've got a pretty difficult circuit to pass on. A lot of guys now joining all of a sudden on the stream. Thanks for joining. And you are joining us 2 laps from the end of the race. Obviously, stay with us because this is definitely not the end of the stream. Following this, we're getting a feature race where we get to do this all over again. But we get to do the real thing. Mandatory pit stop, pit strategies. It shouldn't just be a start to end race as the sprint race. This is just a sample. Shane leads the way. Now Dixie Killer coming under pressure from not Afro. Afro's been passed. Now it's Pantry Star in P6 looking to get himself up into the top 5. And he's going to take on the Williams here into turn 1. Decides better of it. Knows he's got a DRS zone coming up. Long straight slipstream. ERS, DRS, the combination of everything. You're not going to have too much to defend if you're the Williams driver. But luckily for the Williams driver, he's in the DRS train too. So he gets a bit of DRS and it just cancels out that advantage for the car behind. Dixie Killer manages to hold on to P5. Top Gun picking up a penalty. It's not going to help his cause in this race. May cost him that P11. Everybody relatively close together except your leader. Your leader's running away just a little bit. 3.2 seconds down the road now from P2. A lot of cars stuck here in the DRS train. Really frustrating place to be. You want to attack, but you have to watch your mirrors. And everybody's driving on absolute edge, so a mistake is never far away. But this time Pantry Star giving it everything. ERS to the max. It's empty. DRS. And now he's got to get that car stopped into turn 1. He does. And there we go. I was worried that the Williams would come back up the inside, but he wasn't able to do that. Pantry Star up into P4. Mr. M now. It's made it up into P3. Your top 3, Shane, Louis, Mr. M. Pantry Star P4, Dixie Killer P5. Remember, 2 retirements from this race. The 2 Alpha Tauris, Magosi and Revolution, will start the feature race from the back of the field. For your final results, I'm just going to wait for your official standings because the penalties like to make me look quite silly. That is it for our sprint race. 12 laps of action. Start to finish race, no pit stops required, but the race we're going to now is the real deal, the feature race. Obviously points on offer for the sprint race. Your results: Shane P1, then Louis P2, Mr. M making up your sprint podium, then Pantry Star in P4, Dixie Killer P5, Afro P6, Andre P7, Fricky P8, Ultra Gamer P9, Harsh Cartoon P10. And then outside of the top 10 we have Virus in 11, Top Gun 12, Ulrich 13, Van 14, and then the two retirements, two AlphaTauris, Atmagozi and Revolution. Welcome back to Interlagos. Now there is a 5-minute enforced break between the races so that everybody can make sure they're on the right strategy, make sure they're on the right tire, on the right fuel load. Remember, Brazil is a relatively short track, and if you do get multiple safety cars, you're going to finish with so much fuel at the end. But if you don't get those safety cars, you're going to run into a little bit of trouble towards the end. Obviously, if you are listening to this stream or watching this stream, whatever it may be, if you're watching it later on in the week or if you're watching it live right now, leave a like on the video. And if you haven't subscribed, I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. Interlagos, one of the shorter tracks on the calendar, approximately 4.3 kilometers long, somewhere in that region. Total of 15 corners. I think 9 are to the left and 6 are to the right. And your elevation change around the circuit also plays a big factor. About 40 meters from the highest point of the circuit to the lowest point of the circuit. Also not one of the widest tracks on the calendar. Seems to be a symptom that is shared by lots of classic tracks. Tracks used to be a lot more narrow. And here in Brazil, at its most narrow point, track just 9 meters wide. Just for reference, tracks like Vegas, Baku, Miami, they're 15 meters wide. So 9 is quite a narrow circuit. You can't go to Brazil without speaking about Ayrton Senna, obviously 3-time world champion, Brazilian driver. Unfortunately got cut off in his peak in 1994, and with all his success and with his 3 world championships, it took him all the way to 1991, almost 6 years, 5 years in the sport, before he could win his first Brazilian Grand Prix. That happened in 1991. And some amazing sights from the crowd that day. Ayrton Senna's only victory in Brazil. Might be mistaken, he may have won in 1993 as well. See a lot more things that have happened here in Brazil over the years. 2008, Lewis Hamilton winning his first championship. And obviously the heartbreak of Felipe Massa at his home circuit. Also Jenson Button's first championship was won at this circuit. And Prost's second title also won at this circuit. There are your red lights. There's 5 of them. They're going to disappear any second now. And there we go. Bit of an odd start there. Not quite sure. See some cars jumping around. We have an Alpine out front that seems to be ghosting. But oh well, I wonder what's going on here. And there we go. Timing screens have just corrected themselves. I was a little bit confused for a second, but Shane leads the way. Second gap already up to 1 second. Pantry Star does not have that benefit of a 1 second gap. He's coming under all sorts of pressure from Afro in the sole Red Bull tonight. Louis P4, Mr. Rem P5. Further back we have the first of the two Mercedes, Fricky, then Harsh Cartoon in the second Alpine, his teammate up in the lead. Dixie Killer P8, Top Gun 9, and Ulrich making up your top 10. Remember, we had 2 retirements in that sprint race, so those 2 cars would have started from the back of the field. They were the 2 Alpha Tauris, and as you can see, they've already made up a little bit of ground. P14, P15, and as I say that up, Magosi loses a position. Arguably one of the best tracks on the calendar, one of the best layouts on the calendar. And that's why they've just been guaranteed a new contract for the next 5 years. So we will see a Brazilian Grand Prix until at least 2028. Here at the circuit Interlagos. In case you're wondering what Interlagos means, it means between lakes, because there's a lake on either side of the circuit. And it should be actually pronounced Interlagos. Harsh Cartoon, the second of the 2 Alpines, he's putting pressure on the Haas driver. Mr. Rem, he's not going to be able to defend that surely. And Harsh Cartoon making it one hell of an afternoon for Alpine. If he can hold this together, Alpine in P1, Alpine in P4. But he's going to have one heck of a drive, because there's a bit of a gap up to the top 3. That top 3, Shane, Afro, Pantry. Your next 3, Harsh Cartoon, Mr. Rem and Fricky, all close together on circuit, as is Dixie Killer in P7 and Louis in P8. So a relatively long DRS train there in the middle of the field. Leader doesn't need to worry too much about DRS. He's got a 1.6 second gap. Afro P2, he does not have that. He is within DRS. Pantry Star will continue applying that pressure. Remember, also important how you drive these opening laps. How you're going to treat these tires. Abuse these tires early on. You may have the superior pace, but later on in your stint, you may either have a very difficult time, or you're going to have to put a lot earlier than expected, and therefore really shuffle your strategy around. Now Afro with DRS thought about going up the inside on Pantry Star, but it wasn't quite close enough. Was going to have to be one heck of a lunge. Wasn't willing to take that risk. Knows he's got the speed, just needs to stay behind the Aston Martin. Wait for the mistake, wait for the opportunity. Don't even need a mistake, just need to be close enough at the beginning of the DRS zone, and there's nothing that driver in front of you is going to be able to do about it. Further back in the field, the 2 McLarens, Linus Stern, P11, P12, Andre and Louis. McLarens will be hoping for a little better than that later on tonight at Sao Paulo. Top Gun in 10. Virus 9, Ulrich 8, Fricky 7. All of these cars so close together. And crucially, for everyone out on circuit, and I hope I'm not going to commentators curse this in the next couple of corners, but everyone out on circuit, no penalties. Remember, if the field stays this close, if we get a late safety car, those penalties can really destroy your result. So important to keep a 0 next to that penalties column. Gap for the lead just stabilizing a little bit, 3.2 seconds. It has stayed for at least a lap. It's not extending anymore. One thing we can do is have a look at the tyre situation. Let's see who started the race on what tyre. Your top 4 all seem to be on exactly the same strategy, starting on the medium tyre, then Dixie Killer in P5. He's the first of the drivers to mix it up. He's going on a set of softs. So this first stint in the race, crucial for him to get as high up the field as possible. Mr. M, also on a very different gamble. The opposite gamble of Dixie Killer, in fact. He's on hards, looking to go late on into this race. Then also on mediums, Fricky P7, Virus P9, and Louis P13. The rest of your field is on hards. Andre, Top Gun, Ultra Gamer, Revolution, Akmagozi and Van all on a set of hards. Guys at the front though, all on mediums. Have some pretty lengthy gaps here at the front in the top 3. So you have to go all the way back to position 4 to find the first battle on the track, and that's between Harsh Cartoon and Dixie Killer fighting for P4. Right now the podium just getting a little bit too far up the road for Pantry Star. He's going to have to turn things around, close that gap, or really hope for a safety car, because the gap to the podium sitter is just starting to extend now. Ulrich makes a pass on Fricky. Now we have Mr. M, P6, Dixie Killer, P5. Ulrich and Dixie Killer, the only 2 drivers out on circuit on a set of soft tyres. So we should be seeing quick lap times from these 2 drivers. Unfortunately for them, they're both stuck in the same DRS train, and they're not able to utilize that superior grip in the early stages of the race. Meaning any benefit you really get from starting on the soft gets cancelled out. And then you need to be one of the first to pit and lose so much track position. Gap at the front starting to reverse actually. We saw it go all the way up to 3.3 seconds. It's now 2.7. So Shane has lost half a second on that last lap. Wonder if that was a mistake or if that is as a result of his tyres. Afro P2. Red Bull doing everything it can to hold on to the back of an Alpine, and that's not something you're going to hear very often. And virtual safety car. We are under virtual safety car. Van has DNF'd. He becomes the first DNF of the evening. And luckily for everybody else out on circuit, seems like the car has been cleared. As I say that, I can see it there. It's stationary in Sector 3. But virtual safety car. No full safety car for now. We have seen virtual safety cars that can trigger full safety cars. But now it seems like that Ferrari has disappeared from the track, so I'm going to presume it's been cleared. And a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. That goes to Harsh Cartoon. And as his name says, that's a little harsh. I know what it is. Basically the game tells you to go, you go, and then the game tells you to hold on, and you can't hold on in time, and you get that penalty. Seen it happen a few times, and now Harsh Cartoon's losing quite a few positions. He's all the way down to P7, P8, P9. Keeps on dropping. I wonder if that car's got severe damage. We wait for the Alpine to come around the corner. Where is the Alpine? There is the Alpine, and it doesn't seem to have any damage. but he has lost a whole lot of positions. Speaking of damage, apparently Louis had some damage because he's in the pits fitting a new front wing. At the front, Shane leads the way. That gap 1.8 seconds. Gap is under control, but it's not a very big gap. Leader makes a big mistake. Afro can take the lead of this race. Crucially, your top three appear to be on identical strategies. Mr. Rem in P4 is on a very different strategy. He's on a set of hards, which tells me he's going to go longer into this race. When those top three do pit, Mr. Rem will probably take the lead of this race. And then it's all about extending those hard tires, taking them as far into this race as you possibly can while not losing time. And then maybe at the end strapping on a set of softs and having a go. I really don't know what is the plan. Maybe hard for as long as you can and then get on the softs. If that is the case, I think those softs at the end of the race are going to be crying. Mercedes were briefly together in 7th and 8th, but Fricky has regained a position. He goes up into 6th. Dixie Killer loses a position, goes down into P7. Dixie Killer just the one Williams this afternoon. I'm going to try and say this afternoon, but if I keep on saying this evening, I apologise. Most of my league commentary happens in the evening. 4 o'clock is a bit of an odd one. But obviously, we need to move these races around on a Sunday, especially here at the end of the Formula 1 season, because we have a lot of late races. And I'm not sure how many guys would like to drive while the actual F1 is happening in the background. So event just got moved up a couple of hours to 4 o'clock so that everyone can get their fix of Sao Paulo later on tonight. The only circuit on the F1 calendar in South America. So South America was once host to, I think, 2 Grand Prix. Argentina also had a Grand Prix of their own. That track unfortunately went bankrupt, or its owners did. Fell off the F1 calendar and really fell into disrepair. But luckily, due to a MotoGP contract, track was fixed up. First it was bought by new owners, then huge investment, track got fixed up. And now we do have an FIA Grade 1 circuit in Argentina. And who knows, maybe one day F1 will return. Only if it's at the expense of one of the American races. I think that side of the world's got enough races. Here we go, Ulrich. Going through an AlphaTauri that appears to be ghosting. I just want to confirm who that AlphaTauri is. And I think it's Atmagozi. It is Atmagozi. Atmagozi ghosting at the back of the field. Hopefully he will be able to reclaim control of that car before the end of the race. Points are still on offer in this race. Remember, so many things can happen. Get a smattering of drivers retire. Get a late safety car. And you can find yourself in a very preferable position towards the end. It was Michael Schumacher that once said, "I don't give up until the end. I push every little bit out of the car that I can, because who knows? Every single tenth, every single lap, you don't know how it's going to play out in the end. Might find yourself in last place right now. Get a safety car at the end. Different people choose to do different things in the pits, and you could find yourself in a podium position in no time. So everyone out there still with a great opportunity of points. As for the lead, we're watching that gap, and that gap is just maintaining itself. Went down to 1.7. Now, as I say, maintaining itself, it's fallen quite a bit. Wonder if Shane made a mistake there just on the traction coming out of the corner. He's lost approximately 7/10 going down the straight, and now getting dangerously close into DRS territory for your leader. Afro coming into prime position to attack. Remember, Afro does have that penalty next to his name. That will not help him later on in the race. That's a 3-second time penalty. For what I can only presume is track limits. The top three still on the same strategy. All on mediums. A little further back. P4, Ulrich. It's on a set of softs. Two drivers chose to start on a set of softs. That was Dixie Killer and Ulrich. So we're going to watch them with some interest, because they will tell us when to come in on those softs, what's probably the maximum life you're going to get out of those softs, and then we'll have an idea at the end of the race if you can do a one-stop. Hey there, Apmagozi, in the comment section. See your car is ghosting around at the back of the field. Nice to have you in the comment section watching the race. We're on lap 15 of 36, and Shane leads the way from Afro. Remember, that gap got dangerously close to DRS, and it still is 1.1 seconds. Now, he's not going to have DRS, but he is going to have that slipstream, and if he can just stay as close as he can in that slipstream, can maybe break that 1 second mark. Just crucially remains at 1.1, just outside of DRS. Well, Atmagozi says his buttons stopped working. Well, that's not a good thing. Imagine you were traveling at 200 miles an hour and all the digital stuff on your wheel just stopped working. Lap 15 of 36, Shane leads, 1.6 seconds is the gap, so it's starting to grow again. Pantry Star in P3, Ulrich in P4 on those softs. Remember, we're going to watch him for that first pit stop. Want to know when is he going to come in and get rid of those softs? Not just yet, he's going to stay out for another one. So what's that, 15 laps on the softs. Andre makes up a position, gets past Dixie Killer. I wonder if those softs are going off. And as I say that, Dixie Killer in the pits. That's why Andre passed him. See what tyre he does put on. He's going for the medium. 20 laps to go. You did 15 on the soft. I think he's going to be able to finish this race with those sets of mediums. And if he's able to keep all his wings on the car and all his end plates on the car and keep that car in a straight line and go to the end, could still have a good result yet. He's currently in P10 and he's going to wait for this race to unravel before him to find out where he can finish. Ultra Gamer and Afro, the two drivers, are in the field with penalties. Shane leads from Afro, Pantry Star P3, Ulrich P4, Virus P5. So many historic events have happened at this circuit. One that a lot of people forget happened right here at Interlagos was Michael Schumacher's final victory. Victory number 91. It was also the track where Mark Webber and Juan Pablo Montoya got their first wins. Virus going sideways now. God, just ghosts. I wonder if he got damage. That is definitely going to hurt his race. Not what he would have wanted. Late on in the stint, extending those tyres. And now those tyres are just going to feel like pure ice on the tarmac. It's going to take quite some time to get them back up to temperature. That's just going to allow Ultra Gamer to come at Virus. I'm sure we'll see Virus coming into the pits soon. Now Pantry Star in the pits. Afro in the pits. Ulrich in the pits. Busy pit lane. Things are about to get mixed up. Shane still leads the way, but those mediums are 17 laps old, so he will be coming into the pits in the next lap or two, I presume. Is it possible to extend those mediums to 20, to 21, 22 laps maybe, and then finish this race 14 laps on a set of softs? Would that be too much of a risk, or is he looking to finish the race on a set of hards? We'll soon find out. Mr. Rem and Afro switching places, back and forth, wheel to wheel, side by side, just what you like to see, but Afro is going to have the advantage because they're both on hard tyres, but Afro has a brand new set, and Mr. Rem, well, his set is reaching the end of its life. But Shane exiting the pits, that is your leader. Let's have a look. Where is Afro in comparison? I think Shane has cleared him. There we go. He has cleared him, and that gap has actually remained identical to what it was before the pit stops. 1.6, 1.5, 1.4. Remember, Shane is going to have cold tyres. It's going to take him just a few corners, a sector or two, just to get those tyres up to temperature. So in the initial stages of this run, he's going to lose a little bit of time to that car behind him, and it's absolutely crucial he keeps it above DRS range, because Afro has new tyres, as does Shane, and he will have the pace in that Red Bull. Needs to keep it above DRS, otherwise things are going to become very difficult to defend. Mr. MP3, Andre P4, Pantry Star P5. Let me know in the comment section if you have any predictions for this race. Predictions for driver of the day. Afro sets the fastest lap of the race. Now he's going to start putting pressure on your leader. Your leader hasn't been under much pressure throughout the race. He's had a pretty comfortable gap. But that all changes now because Afro within DRS of the leader for the first time in this race. And now surely it's going to be a matter of time. It's about just wearing that driver in front of you down. Let him completely use up his ERS, lap after lap, getting closer, threatening on each DRS zone. And eventually, when the driver in front has nothing left, you just sneak up the inside and make it look easy. Well, that will be his plan. But for the time being, Afro needs to make sure that he can hold on to that Alpine. It was difficult enough to catch up to him. It's going to be another story to pass him, but for the time being, what he can do is make sure he stays with him. Don't let that car get up the road again. Mr. Rem, P3. Podium sitters looking quite comfortable for now. Some predictions coming in. Shane P1, Afro P2. Well, that's just easy. Those are the drivers currently in P1 and P2, so you're not going for any crazy bets. Remember, Afro takes the lead at the front. Remember, he's got that penalty. He's got that penalty, and that penalty may come back to bite him, but still a long way to go in this race. Lap 21 of 36. We still have 15 laps to go. That's longer than the entire distance of the sprint race. So much still can happen. And a fight for the lead is really lining up to be something great. Half a second between these two. Shane led the race for a majority of the way. Started the race on pole as a result of his sprint victory. But now Afro has gotten past and thrown down the gauntlet and said, "You've led most of the way, now come and catch me." And we'll soon find out if Shane is able to hold on to that Red Bull. That's all he really needs to do, is hold on to the Red Bull. Doesn't need to pass him on circuit. He's got a comfortable gap down to P3. And that car ahead of him does have a penalty. So let him defend as hard as he can. Let him waste those tyres. Such a difficult situation when you're in the lead and you know you got those penalties. It's so deflating. Knowing that the battle you're having on track isn't the actual battle. The battle's up in the timing screen. You could make a brilliant pass on this guy in front of you and then lose the position over the line. Ultra Gamer collecting more penalties. Looks like he's picked up a 5-second penalty to go with his 3-second penalty. So he's up to 8. Will probably serve that 5-second if he chooses to pit before the end of the race. I have predictions for P1 and 2. That's Shane P1, Afro P2. That's your prediction. No prediction for P3 because P3 is still very much up for grabs. As is P1. 0.6 of a second for the lead, 0.5 of a second for P3. But unfortunately, between those two battles, a whole lot of tarmac. Afro all over the back of Shane again. He's going to get DRS. Is it going to be close enough? He might just be close enough. At the beginning of that DRS zone, the gap was just 0.2 of a second. And he did get awfully close. Didn't go for the move. There is your podium prediction in complete from Apmagozi. Shane P1, Afro P2 and Ulrich making up the podium in P3. So we'll see Ulrich currently in P4, just 0.3 of a second away from Pantry Star, so he is looking to threaten the podium position. And we still have a lot of threat up front here for the lead. The only disappointing fact is every time you get too much into this battle, you remember that that Red Bull has a serious penalty next to its name. So not only is he going to have to pass Shane, which he's doing right now up the inside. Let's see, can Shane get it stopped? Will he have the inside for next corner? Yes, he does. And he's going to hold on to that, but then he's going to be smacked with DRS all over again. So you can defend as hard as you want into those turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, but then you're followed by DRS all over again. We saw that yesterday in the sprint race with Danny Ricciardo. Passed Leclerc so many times, and so many times Leclerc came back at him in the very next DRS zone. And eventually Ricciardo's tyres had it, and he started falling back in the field. And that's what can happen here. If you take too long to get past, you can just burn into those tyres. And with 2 or 3 laps remaining, you're really going to have to back off because your tyres are going to be jelly. And no one wants that. So tyre management is so important at this point in the race. Lap 24, 36, 12 to go. 12 to go. That is the distance of your sprint race. Two-thirds of the way complete, 1/3 to go. And there we go, side-by-side action, not the best camera angle, looking at the wrong way, but now we do get a better camera angle, and Shane just holds on to the lead from Afro. But now does he? He thought about it, just showed him the nose. But he's going to stay behind him for now. You know, when you see a driver do that, you always say, he thought about it. Quite frankly, I don't think he thought about it. I think that's all strategy. You just stick your nose out. Make sure the driver in front of you will see you in his mirror. Just try and break that concentration. Make the driver ahead think you're going to lunge when you're not. Make him brake a little bit later in anticipation. Force the mistake. It's all about pressure at this stage. If you're able to stay that close behind, Just keep on applying the pressure and make sure you don't make any mistakes of your own. 15 seconds down the road from that battle, we have this battle. Pantry Star leads from Ulrich, 4/10 of a second. The fight is for P3 and the final podium position. Pantry Star, still P3, still holding on, still defending from the Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo doing everything he can to get past, but similar situation to the battle we have in front. Maybe his strategy is to just sit behind and force that mistake. It's not like he's not trying. He's opening DRS, he's giving it everything down the straights, but Pantry Star just doing enough for now. And I wonder if that really comes down to the battery. And if that is the case, surely Pantry Star will run out of battery eventually. And if Ulrich has been managing his battery, then it should be an easy swap of positions. Looks like if things were to end right now, the only team not to collect any form of points this evening would be AlphaTauri. Magosi may still appear on your screens, but he is effectively out of this race. And Revolution running around in P14. Afro gets around the outside and takes the lead of this race. This is the most narrow part of the circuit, just 9 meters wide. And here we go, now Shane in P2. He's going to look up, he's going to look at that timing screen, and he's going to see Afro's in front of me, but he's got a 3-second time penalty. So all I need to do is stay on the back of this Red Bull. But he's not going to want that. He's going to want to pass him on track. There's a lot of pride at stake. It's a nice feeling to look at the standings and see that you've won. But it's a much better feeling to know you made the pass on circuit. And as I say that, this time it's Shane's turn up the straight. The Alpine's got DRS and he goes up, no problem. Past the Red Bull yet again, and these two keep on trading positions. I just really wish that penalty wasn't there. Now the Red Bull up the inside, so many position changes, and as I say it, I wish the penalty wasn't there. Commentator's curse has proven itself once more. Shane picks up a 3-second time penalty, and effectively those penalties will cancel each other out, and the battle for the lead is a battle on circuit once more. Afro leads the way from Shane, and with that penalty he's not going to be able to sit on the gearbox of this car and win the race. He's going to have to catch up to this car, make the pass, take the lead, sustain the lead. This race just got a whole lot more difficult, and it could have just been a few millimeters over a white line. Luckily for your leaders, each with a 3-second time penalty, they don't need to be concerned about P3. P3 16, almost 17 seconds down the road from these top two. But P3 not comfortable himself. He has a 4-second gap to the car behind him. That's Ulrich. Nothing too insane in the tyre situation. Top four all on similar strategies, all on hard tyres. Shane's tyres are 1 lap fresher than the cars around him. That 1 extra lap on mediums. Mr. Rem P5, Andre P6, Dixie Killer, he's had a real up and down race. Looked stronger earlier on. Now in P7, I think he was up to P4 or 5 at a stage. Ultra Gamer P8, Top Gun 9. And then Fricky, the first of the two Mercs and the only one in the points, he's P10. His teammate further down the road in P11, Louis P12. And then the sole running AlphaTauri of Revolution P13. And the other Alpine, Harsh Cartoon. Making up your field in P14. Remember, Rapmangozi is out of this race, even though he appears on your timing screens. Also, Visor, Death Queen, Rapmangozi, all of you that are enjoying the race and contributing in the comment section, thanks for joining. Thanks for, see there's a few likes on the video, so if that was you, thanks for leaving a like. And if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. We race every Sunday afternoon. Times may vary from between 4 to 8 o'clock, but we will let you know. And we're here every Sunday doing this. Let's bring up your penalty screen yet again so we can just have a look at the situation. Now Afro leading the way. He's really extended that gap. I wonder if Shane's taken too much out of those tyres, or if this is down to pure pace. 3 seconds apiece, 1.5 seconds is the gap. So right now Afro has this in the bag with 6 laps remaining. Pantry Star does not have third place in the bag just yet. He's been under pressure from Ulrich. I can't even tell you for how many laps. Probably 8, 10 laps. 8, 9, 10. Doing everything he can to get himself up into the top 3, but Pantry Star relentless. Defending in all the right places, using his battery in all the right places, and just doing enough to keep the Aston Martin in front. I can't wait for 2024. Too many of these teams start with the letter A. I'm getting confused. Alpine, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri. 4 of your 10 teams start with the letter A. That will obviously change next season. 2 of those teams, Alfa Romeo, will be no more. That team will be known as Sauber. The Alfa Romeo sponsorship will move to Haas. Haas will now be known as the MoneyGram Alfa Romeo Haas team. One heck of a name. And then the AlphaTauri's name is yet to be revealed. But if rumors are to be believed, a Swiss clothing manufacturer that you all may well know may be in the name of that new Red Bull team, Adidas, looking to sign a lengthy 5-year deal with the future AlphaTauri team. Gap at the front starting to come down again. We saw it get all the way up to 1.5 seconds. Looked like it was getting out of hand, but Shane has brought it back to within DRS, so that gap 9/10 of a second. And Ulrich still doing everything he can, waiting for that mistake, staying close enough so that if that mistake does come, he can capitalize. But so far, Pantry Star, rock solid, stead firm. Brilliant defense from the Aston Martin, doing everything he needs to do to hold on to that podium position. 3 laps to go. How it would hurt to lose that position now, after all the work, after all the defense. Just needs to hold on to that for approximately another 14 kilometers. But will he be able to do so? Ulrich relentless. 0.3 of a second the gap. Further down in the field we have Andre. He's making up a few places. He's now 0.7 of a second adrift from Mr. Rem. 0.6. So we could still see a move for that position before the end of the race. Andre fighting to get himself into the top 5. Ulrich still pushing, 0.3 of a second, the gap between the two. And when you're pushing this hard, a mistake could be around the next corner. Concentration to its absolute maximum. And now Shane, lap 34 of 36, retakes the lead. of the Brazilian Grand Prix here in Season 5, Round 5, and what a race it's been so far. These two switching places throughout ever since the pit stops. And with 2 laps remaining, we still don't have any idea of who our winner is going to be. And that's how we like our racing. Down to the line, down to the final lap. You got to give it everything to the end. Surprisingly, no major safety cars in this race, and it's too late to get one now. So we will have a safety car-less Brazil. Quite a rare feat. Afro now 0.6 of a second is that gap. Doesn't want to let that gap get too much bigger than that. He's going to want to close it as much as he possibly can on this DRS straight. And then remember, if he's not able to make the pass, he's going to get a second DRS straight. This will be lap 35 of 36. So he's got 2 more opportunities to make this pass. Doesn't get it done into turn 1 this time. He was too far behind. Let's ride on board with him. Get a feel of what he's feeling. Get a look at what he's seeing. He's looking at the Alpine rear wing. And I think he's seen too much of that Alpine rear wing this race. Probably sick of it. He has got past it a couple of times. Only for the Alpine to get back in front. Afro so close behind the Alpine. 2.5 tenths is the gap. It's this part of the circuit here that's so important. Need to stay as close as you can. Not too close that it'll affect your own momentum. But as close as you can that you can try and get the superior traction coming out of this left-hander right here. If you can get superior traction heading up the hill, opening up DRS, and that Alpine all over the road. I wonder if that's internet connectivity or if those are Shane's tyres completely on their end. Maybe his tyres. Looks like Afro got the superior traction and easily passed on lap 36 of 36. This is the final lap. And if Shane is going to win this race, he's going to have to do something special in the closing stages. Ulrich has finally broken Pantry Star. And Ulrich up into P3 on the final lap. Seems like Shane's car is ghosting. Let me just get onto broadcast cam. Yes, that car is ghosting. Shane's car is ghosting, and what a battle we had. And what an anticlimax it's going to be. On the final lap of the race, one of the 2 cars in an epic battle for the lead drops out of the race due to what can only be imagined as an internet issue. And so disappointing. Depending on the rules of the league, I'm not quite sure. Maybe he gets to keep the result because it's so late in the race. I'm not quite sure. Different leagues have different rules. In some cases you get cancelled out. In some places, if you've done 90% of the race, you get to keep it. But we'll find out later on in the race. Ulrich is going to be giving it everything. Will he be able? Look at that. 2 ghost Alpines. One passing the other one. And Shane limping up the road towards the start-finish line. And just to rub salt into the wounds, he's going to lose the position. Ulrich. That gap was 17 seconds and he was able to close it in half a lap. Ulrich P2. Pantry Star gets a podium at the end of the day. He goes P3. Shane, don't know if he's going to be able to keep that P4 or not, but he'll be disappointed. P4 after what a race. Battle from lap 1 to the end. Andre comes up with P5, gets that top 5 position he was chasing earlier on. Mr. M P6. Dixie Killer P7, Ultra Gamer P8. Then we have the 2 Mercedes-Benz P9 and 10, but we'll await your official standings. There is your driver of the day. It's Ulrich. I asked for a driver of the day prediction, but nobody gave it to me. Ulrich, your driver of the day. Now we await the official standings for round 5, season 5, and there they are. Afro wins the race. It's just... There we go, there's your race results. Afro wins the race, P1 from 6th on the grid. Then Ulrich, great race from him, finished P2, started 13th on the grid. Then Pantry Star stealing that podium right at the last second, P3. Shane, bad luck at the end there. Just needed one less lap and he would have had a great position, P4. Then Andre, P5. Mr. Rem, P6. Dixie Killer, P7. Ultra Gamer, P8. Then the two Mercedes-Benz, P9 and 10. Outside of the points tonight, Top Gun, P11. Louis in P12. Harsh Cartoon, P13. And then I'm not quite sure if those Alpha Tauris were in the race or if they were ghosting. I think Revolution was ghosting and Atmagozi was out, as was Van. And that, ladies and gents, is round 5, season 5 at SKR on a Sunday evening. I want to thank you all, everyone who joined, everyone who watched, and everyone who will be watching this later on in the week when we get many more views than during our actual live broadcast. I hope that you enjoyed my company, and I will be back with you next week for SKR Season 5, Round 6. See you then.